Hi, I'm Theodore, and you may have seen me before, but things have changed since then and only got worse. Listen up, I want to tell you what I've learned, and believe me, it's really important, because what I was so afraid of has already begun. I spent the last 6 months in a psychiatric clinic in our town. I don't know what I was treated for because I was in the pink. I wasn't even put in a straitjacket like other patients. Moreover, my doctor told me that I was feeling much better and that I might be discharged soon. Strange, I don't remember feeling anything wrong. I didn't remember anything that happened to me 6 months ago. It's probably because of the medication I was given. In general, I felt great and was preparing to return home to my parents soon. But once, something happened. One afternoon, I got bored and suggested playing hide and seek to the boys. Their bound hands prevented them from using board games, but they could hide without hands. So the patients agreed enthusiastically. We chose one guy to look for us, and we ran to hide. I decided to hide in an old warehouse where unwanted beds and cabinets were kept. I sat down behind a pile of mattresses and listened to the others running around the hall looking for a place. It was as quiet as a grave. Then my eyes fell on a door in the floor. It wasn't easy to see it right away. Strange, where could it lead? I pulled the handle and opened it. Under the door was a semicircular hole with a staircase leading down. Curious, since we were on the first floor, I decided to go down and see what was there. At the bottom was a corridor that led away from the hospital. I groped for the light switch and faint lights came on in the corridor. I wasn't afraid, but rather curious. Fragments of memories began to appear in my head. I moved along the corridor and found myself in a small hall with columns. It was very old and abandoned. Apparently no one had been here since the hospital was built. It was probably supposed to be a warehouse, but now it could be used as a secret hideout. And then I remembered. My memory returned instantly, and I realized how I ended up in the psychiatric clinic. Of course, they thought I was crazy because I was going to prevent a zombie apocalypse. I remember the pharmacological company, Allerbam, that was going to release for sale a dangerous drug. Yes, I wanted to set it on fire and tell people what was waiting for them. I thought of Mary and her secret room under the stairs. And of course, I failed and ended up here. I remember everything. That was 6 months ago. I had to act. After all this time, I didn't know what the world had become while I'd been chilling out here. And I didn't find this bunker for nothing. It could hide a lot of people from zombies. I went on and saw that the hall ended in large gates. They were boarded up. It took me a long time to open them. I went up the steps and came out onto the street. Behind me was the hospital, and in front of me, behind the fence, lay our town. I climbed over the fence and walked down the street. I was very interested in what happened in the world during my absence. After all, there were no phones for the internet in the clinic. And then I saw an advertising poster. It was the same medicine produced by the company Allerbam. It can't be. They did it after all. How many people had bought this drug and were taking it? But it's dangerous. Perhaps even the zombie apocalypse had already begun. It was necessary to act urgently. I had a secret hideout and I had to hide my loved ones there. Then I remembered my parents. I hoped they didn't take this stuff and they're all right. I rushed to my house. It was dark when I arrived. My mother opened the door to me and was very surprised. "Theo, have you been discharged? Why didn't we get a call?" I was so glad she was all right. I hugged my mom and told her that we had to leave immediately. "But where?" she asked. I told my mother that I had found a secret hideout where we could wait out the zombie apocalypse. There's a lot of space and no one knew about this bunker, so we would be safe. I thought that this news would please my mother, but for some reason she got scared. "Yes, I'm afraid too, so let's go quickly before the zombies appear." I tugged at her arm. My mother said that she needed to pack some things and asked me to give her 5 minutes. I reluctantly agreed. While my mother was busy with things, I sat down in front of the TV. There was news on the screen, and a reporter was telling us that doctors had not yet found a cure for the virus that had spread all over the world. Many stores and businesses were closed, and the government asked citizens to stay home and not go out without masks. So that's what happened while I was in the clinic? It started. I knew it. No one believed me. But now I had a secret bunker, and I knew where to wait out this apocalypse. Time passed, but my mother was still getting ready. Suddenly, I heard a car drive to the house. Who could it be? I cautiously looked out the window and saw an ambulance. The doctors of the clinic got out of it and went to our house. They tracked me down, and then I understood. Mom, did you call them? I asked fearsomely. Theo, you are ill, and the doctors will help you, she answered and went to open the door. I couldn't believe it. My mother didn't believe me. She wanted to send me to the clinic again, but I couldn't afford it, so I immediately ran to the back room and climbed out of the house through the window. I could hear the doctor's footsteps behind me, so I dug out. It was a couple of blocks before I stopped to catch my breath. It was sad because my mother didn't understand the danger. She didn't want me to save her. Well, this is her fate, I decided. When it's too late, she'll remember me. But what should I do next? I needed to save those who believed in me from the zombie apocalypse. And then I remembered Mary, the girl who had a secret room under the stairs and who I'd read zombie comics with. She knew exactly what was going on and would be happy to string along with me in the secret bunker under the clinic. Without hesitation, I ran to Mary's house. There were lights in her windows, and someone was home. I knocked on the door and heard footsteps inside. Someone looked at me through the mail slot, but the man didn't open the door. Mary, it's me, Theodore, open it! But I didn't get an answer. I waited a minute and knocked again. Maybe the zombies had already snuck into the girl's house and she was in danger. It was urgent to save her. Then I broke the lock and went inside. There was no one in the house. I went through all the rooms, but I couldn't find anyone. Then I remembered the secret room under the stairs. I opened it and saw Mary huddled in the corner, looking at me with frightened eyes. Don't be afraid, I've come to save you, I said. No, leave me alone, she replied. I began to convince the girl that the secret room was not safe and I knew a safer place. I grabbed Mary's arm and pulled her along. We ran through the night city and I thought only of one thing. So that we would not get in the way of zombies, and we would rather hide in the bunker that I'd found. We climbed the fence, went down the steps, and came to the gates. We're finally safe. But as soon as we were in the shelter, I knew something was wrong. In the gloom, I saw figures moving about the hall. They moved very strangely, some of them howling, some of them banging against pillars. It scared the pants off me. These are zombies! They found us! But Mary went to the back of the room and called out to me. You're wrong, it's just the patients of the clinic. No, this couldn't be happening. I'd bet anything they were zombies. They couldn't fool me, and it seemed the girl was in hand in glove with them. My secret location was discovered. I had nowhere to hide now. I had a killer headache. I saw dark figures approaching me. No, don't come near me. I staggered back, but I stumbled and fell. Mary ran to me and lifted my head. Theo, what's wrong with you? No, I don't want to become a zombie, I said, and fell into darkness. When I came to my senses, it was morning. I was in the clinic, in my ward. I tried to get up, but realized I was tied to the bed. What's happening? Was I captured after all? Or did none of this happen? Maybe I just had a nightmare. My doctor came in. He smiled and said, Theodore, are you awake yet? Yeah, so it wasn't real for me. I replied that I had a terrible dream about zombie in a bunker. But the doctor suddenly became serious and replied that it was not a dream. I actually found an old door that led to a warehouse in the basement, forgot to close it behind me, and half of the patients were scattered throughout the clinic. I also ran around the town all night, scared Mary, and really upset my mom. But the zombie apocalypse has begun, I tried to say. The doctor replied that I had made it up and my head problems had returned. They would have to treat me again. No, not again! My memory would be erased again! But then I had an even more terrifying thought. What if, was I a zombie already? I just didn't figure it out yet. Look at me, quickly. Do you think I'm normal? Am I not a zombie? Write in the comments.